Spanish about syntaxes. I learned a lot, but I have to finish my task today. Maybe I will make a video about it, and I hope I know much about different types of phrases. And today in Tandem application, I found a good from Brazil who helped me. Who is eager to help me with my Portuguese too. Explained, and I thought he was a teacher of Portuguese, but no. At the end of our talking, he said, "Oh, I want to teach Portuguese now. I liked it. Learn Russian. To help Russians to learn Portuguese." That, as usual, busy with work, sports, classes, and languages.
And yeah, how is the have you noticed any changes in the marathon, like so far, or is it look very similar to the way it's been for the previous ones?
The tasks are more complicated.
Okay.
Because last time I learned Portuguese from the scratch. Learned Spanish as the second level. It's more advanced. The tasks are more difficult, more interesting and deeper. I don't know how to say. Interesting for me because it is somehow creative for me and challenging. And as I know, and you maybe know, in some weeks we have to make a video on YouTube.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. About our study, I don't know. I watched, I saw a list of tasks, and it will be interesting, I hope. I think.
Yeah, I keep emailing or messaging with Jania, going like, I'll join level 2 again, and then I get like, I really want to get back into my Russian, and then it's like a week, and then the week goes by, and I'm like, oh, okay, I missed out again. So I don't know what to do anymore. It's like, well, I think she'll probably just kind of, she wants to help and encourage me, but at the same time, it's like I'm taking on probably too many projects, so I have to figure out a way to kind of, I want to keep supporting the community and keep encouraging people with their English somehow. I just in terms of like learning and keeping track of my learning, it's getting crazy, but I still want to kind of support the community and encourage people to like, hey, like I don't quite know without getting overcommitted how I could continue to kind of maybe.
Haven't you finished the level 2?
No. I like, what was it? Yeah, because it was like last year. I had went from level 1 and I did great, and that was like October to December, and I was still at the office, and things were kind of just, yeah, I just focused on that. But then as I got into like January, February, March, that's when I was really heavily transitioning into the online teaching and just moving very quickly to kind of see how to market or network with people, and then And then when things started to take off again, well, and I joined the Ad1 challenge in like March, April, May, June. And then I was in another Ad1 challenge at the same time, like for May, June, July. And then I think they took a vacation, if it was summer or so. And then I was going to kind of join in maybe in fall. Say, okay, I'm going to do level 2 again. And then that kind of just, things got crazy again. And then this time for winter, I was like, I'm going to end up doing the same thing again. And my friends were like, why are you going to level 2? No, come, like we're at level 3 now. Come join us. I'm like, I didn't finish level 2. I don't think it's like I should just skip around. But I think now like they wanted to encourage me to kind of be kind of a co-curator and like helping one of the English groups, but then it just got too much, and especially since like most of the communication ends up being in Russian, and I just couldn't really. I mean, it would be great for me to kind of read all that stuff and keep up with it, but like one of the things why like the Ad1 challenge was not so overwhelming for me was the communication was all in English, but that's on one side for me, that's kind of, that's not pushing me to use the target language of Russian as much as I could, because I was able to follow all these little conversations and things. It's like, hey, what tools are you using, or what? So, and that got really kind of like, I was just putting a lot of stuff into a Google Translate, even though I would look at the Google Translate, like, oh yeah, I did catch some of that stuff in that conversation, but it was not as like it's a great community, but there is a kind of a steep difference of like getting me to use my Russian so much that I can kind of follow these conversations and actually take part or chime in with something. And so that like, that's probably what I need, is just keep using the language until it gets easier and easier. And instead of just kind of baby steps to practice it. But and I wasn't quite sure how to, like, what is a happy balance for the language of instruction and then the language of practice of and there's no easy question on there, or there's no easy answer in terms of like keeping everybody kind of sharing their tips and strategies, and also practicing the language. So so I tried to encourage people a little bit, like in the English groups, to say, hey, like, come check out some of the stuff I'm doing, or promote the language exchange group if those people want to find more partners. So my involvement was unfortunately a little more promotional, and I wasn't quite able to keep up so much of individual people and to follow their progress. So I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of stay engaged with the community, but the time just kind of, it flies by way too fast sometimes. So I'll have to.
But the level 1 did help you with Russian.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But I would just say, like, all of these projects that I'm simultaneously doing, they weren't as active. So I just kind of focused 100% on my Russian, and I was still at the office. So and then the online teaching, it's been intense. So So I think a little bit of my goals this year are to try to get some passive things like an ebook, an email list, a video course, and try to find a balance between kind of keeping an active eye on certain students and their progress, and also see if there's ways that I can grow the business and also practice my languages, because I've seen this a little bit with other bloggers and other people involved, where it's like there's a tipping point where things just reach so much that you're keeping up with communications and keeping up with the promotions and answering people's questions on different platforms, that you end up doing that full time instead of like, oh, here I'm learning languages, or here I'm teaching. Then it's kind of it gets really big. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, there's my little daughter. She wants her cookies. So okay, just 1 second here.
And speaking about today's topic, how do you think, after what period of learning language from the scratch, do you feel confident to speak?
That's an interesting question. I think even from the beginning, you can feel confident. That's this topic, confidence, fluency. It's very debatable. It's very subjective. But the other day, I heard with one of these teachers, Vanessa, of like Teacher Vanessa. She had one of her live sessions. I was watching it, checking out how she does that, and she had this little phrase there that was like, you need confidence first to reach fluency. And I thought about that a little bit, and I was like thinking about my students and thinking about the ones who kind of who are the most affected by their confidence level. This really manifests itself in nervousness, and when you're nervous, you make mistakes, and not just kind of the, oh, oops kind of mistakes. It's the, I kind of can't concentrate, and I can't put two words together, and this anxiety, and thinking like through, and thinking, oh, people are judging me, and my pronunciation, my grammar, the syntax, and so it becomes very overwhelming for some people when their confidence level is really somewhat low, and they're aware of these mistakes, and then being aware of them and being afraid to make them, it really can turn into this kind of vicious cycle where it continues to go there. And then sometimes my role as a teacher, if I don't step back and really get to the underlying root of the issue, I might just immediately jump in and say, oh yeah, I noticed your grammar there, or your pronunciation, or like I might be treating stuff on the surface, and I might not get onto the confidence situation there, or the kind of just breathe, calm down, kind of, we're in a safe learning environment here, just practice. I'm not going to judge you, just practice. And I've seen this also with the TOEFL speaking answers, where it's like being disorganized with the answer, jumping around, not having a plan, not really having effective notes for what they're going to talk about. And when we get to that, I'm just like, okay, let's get a strategy going here, and that you can just follow this and do it. It's night and day sometimes with these answers, because it's like suddenly their confidence level just goes up because they have a plan, they have a strategy, they have a way to stay focused and just go straight to boom, boom, boom for their speaking. So I think confidence really lays the foundation for being able to kind of stay calm, stay focused under pressure, and then in some cases, if it's speaking with a partner, realizing nobody's perfect, or focusing on communication to just kind of make their message understood. And I think those little steps help people get closer to fluency, where things are more automatic. They don't, hi Douglas, they don't have to reflect as much. When I guess my definition of fluency is a little more of automaticity, where it's now correct and subconscious. And like I mean, I go back to all those videos I was making for recording myself in Russian, and saying like that there was a tipping point at some along the way where the things got faster and more correct and easier, and I didn't think about it, and that's where it was like, oh, I'm getting better at this. And I always keep relating this to a comparison with driving a car, and saying like my experience in Mexico City has been very stressful with the traffic, and going from a automatic car to a stick shift car, and having to do this in the middle of traffic with pedestrians, with taxi drivers, with bus drivers, with delivery vans, with just all kinds of stuff to do. It's also like being thrown in the deep end. When we talk about like, you're not in the shallow end for the kids, where you're like, it's safe and you're not going to drown. Well, we say thrown in the deep end, you have to start swimming. And so going back to that car analogy, it's like taking the car and going to a quiet neighborhood or a parking lot that's empty, and you're just shifting gears, practicing the feet, the pedals, just getting all of those mechanics under control. And then when you feel more comfortable with that, you go back into the traffic. So with the with the recordings, I was making it, those are the mechanics of the language of just, for Russian, it was declensions, it was conjugations, it was getting 3 words together and not taking 5 minutes to get 3 words together. And then that got faster and easier, and then became more automatic. And then I didn't have to think about it. And then once I was actually in a conversation, that was like traffic, where now I could manage the car, manage the language, and now I could start using it to interact with people and not drown in the deep end. So that surprised me, of little daily steps, daily progress. But that's a really long explanation there.
I mean, what time? 1 month, 1 week? It is useful, yes, it is useful. It is better to start speaking as, I think, try to practice, I think.
I suppose if you make daily efforts, perhaps by a month, you could, I mean, it's really each person, their level of confidence and how comfortable they are with kind of making mistakes in such a way that they know they have support from a community or from a language partner. And I know Benny's approach, I mean, at least with the like speak in a week, it's kind of like just get started. Just even after a week or a couple of days, just get started. Don't, if you're going to pull off a Band-Aid, don't agonize, like just do it. And I think that approach is something that I did learn this last year, of just, I can keep things so much in my head. I can overthink things. I can read books and work on my grammar and work on my writing skills and listening skills. But if I'm not just doing it and speaking, it could take years. And I would say with my Russian, it was years, because in a classroom, I wasn't really active as much as I wish I were. And because it was also kind of painful and embarrassing, of like, I'm this guy who learned languages, I should be better at this, but I wasn't practicing. I wasn't actually speaking during the week, and the lessons would be Saturday mornings for like 3 hours. And it makes sense. I wasn't practicing each day. And so obviously 3 hours on a Saturday would not really, it might just kind of barely keep it at a certain level in my head. But if I wasn't actually speaking it, it didn't go anywhere. In this last year has been speak, practice, use it, and that actually got me more confident. So it's really each person figuring out what is it going to take to get you to feel comfortable with mistakes, get you speaking, and with some people who are extremely nervous and kind of who need like coaching, therapy, that kind of stuff. A lot of that is really building up their confidence level, or they may have had traumatic experiences from an elementary school or high school where like a teacher made fun of them, or some other student kind of made fun of them, and then they just kind of shut down and they're like, no, I'm not going to speak. I'm embarrassed by this. So it's really personal. Like each person needs to figure out this key to kind of unlock their inner confidence. That sounds motivational. I'm sorry about that. Sounds kind of a bit. But once that works, of opening the confidence, then it's like the floodgates. Like once the confidence issue gets taken care of, then it's like, oh, you don't have to teach grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, or any of that stuff. You just use it, just do it, and then it really starts to improve. But while this confidence issue is really like the elephant in the room, where you can't do anything without like, are we going to talk about this? Are we going to deal with this? Yeah. So as a teacher, as a language learner, it's like yeah, confidence is definitely that has to be taken care of first. Any of these other things about like, how do I get fluent in a month? I think that's kind of like, you could, but I don't think that wouldn't be solving the initial work. I think that confidence issues have to be taken care of first. But I would say, yeah, it depending on each person's personality, it could be like a week or a month. It could be even years. I mean, it depends on that person's experiences. But they definitely have to be taken care of.
I think that the marathon approach could be useful in this in this discussion. I mean that for my personal experience, I started running quite every day 2 years ago. I've been running since 2015, since January 2015, and now next April I had my first half marathon. But I wanted to say this because I never imagined 2 years ago that I would have tried something like this, because I bumped into this chance to run this half marathon by a joke among me and my colleagues in the office. Oh, we can do that because now we are experiencing a bad period, so we decide, okay, we can do something for in just to how can I say, to change the mood in the office. And then it was it was just like a joke. Well, the fact is that 2 years ago I started this, and I ran, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes and stopped. And I think the same approach could be useful also for language learning. Well, truth to be told, I'm not so, well, I don't think that you can get fluent in 1 month or in 3 months. In 3 months, you can grab, so you can grab all the main principles, the main structures of a foreign language, assuming that it has, for instance, the same alphabet. So I mean, if I will start studying French, well, I don't have the problem of a different alphabet that mine, because it's Latin. But I do think that well, the study of a language is something that is a continuous work in progress, and then it helps also to build up our confidence. We don't have to speak and to try, and we have also to find people that can help us, and then that can point out our mistakes, of course, because everyone may make mistakes. It's a part of the learning process. Anyway, I think that could be considered as a habit, a daily habit. And even though I experienced also a rush period, when I decided to, well, I can study this and that and something else. But now, presently, I kept my daily habit to practice English, because it's the first foreign language that I love. And then when I reach other goals, well, to introduce also other languages, but from the basis. So I think that I will use this marathon approach that well it didn't come from a rational decision. It's something that simply happened because I decided to do something for myself, and then I met people that in this helped me. And then when I got ideas clear, I looked for people that I think that could really help me in this way to reach my goal. And just to finish my little intervention is well, for instance, this Saturday meeting, part of the weekly habits that now are very strong. So I think that everyone has its own method, but I strongly suggest the sport up to the language learning.
Yeah, I definitely agree there about like I mean, part of training for a marathon is it's the process. I mean, for some people, when they want to participate in a marathon, sometimes like they want to win it. They want to be at the finish line. But for a lot of people, it's like I've done it. I've participated in one. I've gone through the experience. So it's the process, not just the result. It's not just like, oh yeah, I did this in like 4 hours or something, or like they're not proud of the result. But it's, I think you need to enjoy the process and realize, like as Arash has pointed out a couple times with like the flower analogy of like at what point is your language learning perfect, or at what point is what you're doing like the result oriented. I think it's that whole process that counts. So I think confidence and fluency can be at each stage. I think an A1 beginner can be comfortable with the fact that they're A1 and not get overwhelmed with, I'm not a C2 speaker yet. So I think this looking too far into the future, or even maybe getting to a B1 level and looking too far in the past and going like, I think it's important to stay in the present moment and be happy with your current level and progress, and not get so overwhelmed. I think also like in a marathon of going like, am I doing it right? And it's kind of like a marathon. It's just put one foot in front of the other and keep going, and eventually you'll finish. But I think if you get overwhelmed about, I've got such and such a distance left, I've covered so much distance behind me, so I think it's important to just stay focused in the moment and just keep going. That 1 foot after another, building up the momentum, building up the habit, is really what keeps pushing forward, I think. And with a language marathon as well, it's the doing something each day to keep moving forward. It helps. So if that's either Language Heroes or Add One Challenge, or if there's like Fluent in 3 months or some other programs out there where it's kind of making consistent efforts, I think, really, until it becomes a habit. Because who else showed me a little image? It's like motivation gets you started, a habit helps you stay with it. And we talked about that the other week about consistency and motivation, and I think they kind of go back and forth as well to affect or influence like the confidence, and then that gets into the fluency. But I'm going to stop talking here. I've way too much talking.
Hello everyone, can you hear me?
Hi, welcome to the.
Okay, and nice to meet you, Yo. I'm Douglas. I've been studying English for 2 years. I studied by myself, and I was listening you and you and I wanna speak about my experience with English. I really wanna speak English fluently and actually, and I think the best way to learn other language it's practicing the listening and every day. It's very important. We have consistent. I've been talking with many people on the internet, practicing my speaking. Yeah, I just joined this group. I hope I can talk everyone and improve my English, uh, improve my vocabulary with 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 you. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Great. Well, you're welcome to join us, and thanks Tatiana for inviting Douglas, and yeah, feel free to practice and to join us, because the other day I was writing a new blog post about like teachers who are going live and using live video to engage with students, and I was realizing like a lot of the teachers are looking at like grammar, vocabulary, expressions, and listening exercises and all this. And then I was looking at our language hangouts and going like, something is slightly different with what we do here. And I would, when people ask me like, so you're teaching English in these hangouts? I'm like, no, it's not a, in my perspective, it's not a language lesson. It's like, we're just using it. So I was realizing like, okay, this is a little bit of a communicative approach in which like, yes, I could teach grammar, I could talk about vocabulary, I could talk about pronunciation stuff, but I think my experience when I was learning French in France was I didn't want to take a French course at the French university. I wanted to be immersed in the learning environment so that I could actually use my French to do something with it, to like learn about French literature or learn about music in French. And I would say that experience I had of not just learning about the mechanics of the language, it was use the language to do something else. That approach really got me more confident and more comfortable with my French. So I like that in these hangouts we're using English to talk about other stuff and not just the mechanics of English. So I think that approach, and I would be interested to hear what your guys' input is on that. Of like, do you feel that the fact that we're not just talking about grammar and vocabulary and pronunciation and that kind of stuff, do you think it's the fact that you're actually you're using your English to to discuss different topics, that it's helping you become more comfortable speaking and using the language? How do you feel about your progress with your English?
Well, I think it's good. I'm from Brazil, and here and not many people speak English. It's for example, where I live, and nobody speak English fluently, and then I need to talk to people from on the internet, and for example in this Hangout and the Tandem, where I meet Tatiana. Thank you, Tatiana, for enjoy me in this conversation. And the besides talking to people from the internet, I've been watching TV, CNN International. I think it's nice watching the news in English. Um, and it's my goal to speak English fluently by the end this year, and so I need to practice every day. Besides, I study engineering, and I want to speak English to get a better job. Uh, and I want to travel to the US to improve my English. Uh, I really enjoy learning language, and I want to learn others language also. Yeah, that's it.
Do you have any plan? Maybe today I learn this, I learn grammar. Tomorrow I learn, I don't know, vocabulary. Or I will watch some news to practice my skills. How do you learn English for by yourself? If you learn by yourself, how do you plan your study?
Me?
Yes.
I've been studying English for 2 years. Yeah, and yeah, when I started to learn English, I was studying the grammar. Uh, I was studying just grammar, but now I want to practice my speaking, and I prefer no study grammar at the moment, because it's sometimes it's boring, uh, and at the moment I just wanna speak and listening a lot. Uh, I hope I can speak English fluently soon, uh, and the Spanish also. And what about you? What about you, Tatiana?
Actually, I don't learn English. I just practice it by listening, by speaking. And as you know, I learn Portuguese. And I always mix and Spanish very often. So it's my problem now to learn Portuguese separately from the Spanish. But I like both languages. They seem nice for me, and every day, maybe not every day, I have a plan. Maybe today I read some grammar, and then I make some exercises to practice. Or maybe I can chat, maybe I can speak with someone or write something to practice. Next day maybe I will listen and listen to some videos or some news and try to understand what they're talking about. So that's my way to learn.
Yeah, maybe,
Maybe.
okay, maybe next year a lot of people wanna learn Russian because uh, the the World Cup in the world, uh, because a few years ago many people wanted to learn Portuguese uh, because the World Cup uh, and the Portuguese, it's very similar with Spanish, and if you know Spanish, you are learning Portuguese fast.
I was speaking. Oh, I was chatting today, and every now and then I spoke, or I used some Spanish words, not Portuguese. For example, yes, sí, sim, mixed them. So sometimes Spanish helps me, sometimes it doesn't help me. That's the problem. And yes, next year, this year, many people, or last year, many people began to learn Russian. Football championship. And sometimes I wonder, do they want to learn Russian only for that event, or just for the next moment after the championship? I don't understand sometimes. It's only for the short period of time to learn Russian. For some weeks maybe. I don't know. As I know, in Brazil, Portuguese speakers like football very much, so they for this reason.
Okay, since no one was talking, I want to ask you, did you try that? So of course, there is no guarantee something is gonna work for everyone or not, but I suggested you that using those languages which are similar together can be helpful. So did you try to use Duolingo? Of course, I know you use Duolingo, but learning Portuguese for Spanish speakers or learning Spanish for speakers, that's gonna be the way that I would go to deal with these languages. I remember also, I think, was it Richard Sinkart or Benny Lewis? I don't know, but doesn't matter who said it. What matters is what they said. Is that they said, for example, two images, they wanted to get over these confusing things, and one way was that, for example, when they wanted to book lessons on Italki or chat with exchange partners, they try to talk right after each other. Like for example, in my case, the similar languages that I'm learning is are Danish, Norwegian, Swedish. So let's say I like have a chat with my Swedish partner, then Danish partner, then right after that Norwegian partner. In the beginning, my brain is gonna confuse them all together, and it's gonna be painful. But after a while, brain always adjusts to whatever challenges it faces. So it's gonna after a while say, okay, it seems this I have to be able to cope with it.
Hey, can I interrupt here for a second?
Yeah.
I was just getting a thing from Benny's live, and I asked him a question about confidence and fluency.
Different quotes I've heard.
So I was just asking him.
Projects you want to suck a little less every time. I'm sucking a little less at live video today. Okay, so the relationship between confidence and fluency is extraordinarily strong. Let me tell you about this through something that genuinely happened to me. When I started the blog, the very first project I had was to learn Czech. I haven't maintained Czech, so it's not part of my language list, but I did have a pretty successful first summer in trying to learn it. And Czech is known as a notoriously difficult language to a lot of people. Now, the thing is, I went into that language with a lot of confidence. And I think I got a lot of that confidence from learning previous languages. This is one of the things I tell people is why I feel a polyglot may be better at language learning. It's not necessarily because of their brain chemistry changing or something like that. It's because they get more confident. So I was out with some couch surfers, and maybe I was 3 weeks into the project. So speaking pretty terrible Tarzan Czech, or just putting one word after the other, nothing particularly complex. And what happened was, I remember there was this Brazilian who was with the group who had been learning Czech for a very long time, and very unlike many Brazilians I've met, he was way too much of a perfectionist and like waiting until he could speak, until he could say everything correctly. And so while we were out, I would keep turning to this guy and I'd say, oh, how did you say this in Czech? He would tell me and I would speak back to the group because we had native speakers in with us. And those native speakers said that I spoke better than the Brazilian. Now, from a purely factual perspective, that was so completely wrong, because the Brazilian had been learning way more than me. He definitely knew more words, more vocabulary, more expressions, more everything. But I was more confident, and I came across as more fluent. Because of that, I was not fluent, but a slightly higher degree than I was. And they said that I spoke better than that guy who would have been at least an intermediate level. And this is because when you're speaking a language and you're doing it confidently, part of fluency is that it flows. And you flow a lot better when you're hesitating and second guessing yourself a lot less. So, you know, the famous example that I always tell people this whenever I'm giving one of my talks, but if you are, some kind of technical problem today, that's my camera on its tripod getting loose. It's always something, my goodness. Although at least this was not an electrical technical problem, this was just a adjusting camera technical problem. Anyway, that should do it. Yeah. Sorry about that, everyone. So, saying, there, we're good. Okay. So, I forget what example I was saying. Like I said, the coffee hasn't kicked in. So, I'm talking about my Czech fluency level. Somebody remind me where I was from the camera falling. I swear I lose my attention so quickly. Anyway, the connection between fluency and confidence. I was saying that it flows, and when you hesitate, the example. Okay, you thought I fell out of my chair, did you, Claire? It certainly looked like that. The example I was going to give was the Jack Sparrow way of speaking a language, and you guys would have seen me blog about this quite a lot. Essentially, I would begin to speak a language, and I might say, I want to go to the supermarket. And that's like a weird dramatic pause thing that I always associate with Jack Sparrow. But that is kind of injecting confidence into what you're saying. And that confidence makes you seem way more fluent. So that's kind of what I would say to answer that question. Okay, so James is helping me moderate this. So James, you're going to be picking the questions.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, my internet keeps dropping me, and I dropped out of this Hangout. Okay. So Tatiana, you can try that with Duolingo or any other thing that has both Spanish and Portuguese. And about this thing that you showed on by Benny Lewis, it's very this hesitation is the main thing, the main killer of confidence. Like last week, I was, as I told you, I started learning a bit of French with that website, and I was taking classes, and then taking classes in that French classes, and I was doubting myself all the time. Is it la or is it le? For example, I don't know. For example, la fauteuil or le fauteuil. Or I don't know, all lashes, lushes, all the time. And after a while, I told myself, what the fuck am I doing? I'm keeping stopping all the time. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, so it's not word if I get lo and le wrong. It's not enough the word. So after a while, I said, okay, whatever. I don't care. I just say the first thing comes out. Lashes or loshes, or not end of the word. I got it wrong. so yeah, after a while, I stopped hesitating, and it's become much better. And then the teacher thought all of a sudden my better. I said no. I just stopped hesitating. She felt that, oh, my French all of a sudden got better. I said no, it didn't get better. I just dropped the hesitation. Yeah. So.
Arash, you mean to use Duolingo for learning Portuguese in Spanish and back? Or?
Yes. That's you said. You mentioned the confusion of these languages. The best way to deal with this confusion is to kind of use them together, and then after in the beginning it's gonna be painful, but after a while the brain and our body is always adjusting to our challenges and everyday things. For example of gym, if I go to gym for 2 survive, I need to be able to deal with this new pressure, which is like, for example, lifting heavier weights. The same way with brain. If I am using two languages and I'm confusing them and it's kind of painful, after a while the brain is gonna like adjust and try to get used to this. And I remember, was it Richard Simcott or Benny Lewis? I don't know, but they said, for example, they were arranging and scheduling the different these languages which are confusing for them right after one another. Like for example, let's say in your case it's Portuguese. For example, you say with your Spanish partner, we will talk, for example, on Monday 4 to 5, and from 5 to 6 you speak Portuguese. So right after each other. And in the beginning it's gonna be painful because you're gonna confuse them, especially right after each other. Sometimes switching is not easy, especially if you spoke like 1 hour of this language, and then it's gonna be difficult for me, even not similar languages. Like for example, Hungarian. I speak with my friend in Hungarian, and then after 1 or 2 hours of speaking in Hungarian, then I want to speak Estonian to somebody. Oh, I'm saying Hungarian first. What? These two languages are not that similar, even though they are from the same family group, but the vocabulary things are not similar. So when you use them together, I think it's gonna help. For me, it's Danish and Norwegian and Swedish. These 3 languages are all so similar, and it's easy to confuse them. Just the difference is usually the pronunciation. The written form is very close, almost the same. So maybe, I don't know, but I have never learned Spanish and Portuguese. So maybe it's like that. So, okay. I don't know, okay. Yeah. Jonathan, you're not speaking. I don't know, do you hear me, or do you hear me, or? Okay. Okay, so.
Yeah, I hear you fine. I have to get my kids ready. We have to get going. We're going to be going out soon, so I need to get them ready and bathed and fed and in the car and out the door a little bit earlier than usual. But it's been great talking with you, and this was kind of fun, including Benny in our chat. So that's the cool thing about live broadcasts. You can ask your question to somebody else who is live, and then broadcast their live into your live, and so there's a lot of cool kind of potential with the technology there. And he was cool enough to kind of take the question and not just like he actually went into it. So that's cool. So that's kind of cool to be able to integrate other questions and answers. So yeah, I think his example is very good there about how somebody at a lower level who sounds more confident can be more impressive than somebody who is more advanced but has confidence issues. So I think confidence trumps like years of work. I think you can bluff your way to get it to work.
Yeah. I don't know, but because my internet is not very stable today, I don't know if you heard what I was saying about French. What happened in my French class? Did you?
A little bit. Sorry, I was kind of handling 2-3 things at the same time. So
okay.
I'll have to, if you can recap really briefly there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. No, I was just saying that with that website Lingoda, I was learning French, and then in French, as you know, there are like grammatical. There is grammatical gender, and I was doubting myself all this time, like lashes, loches, la fauteuil. I was doubting myself for almost half of the class. I was doubting myself. Oh, was it la table, low table, or was it lashes, loches, all those things? And it was painful. And after a while, in the middle of class, I caught myself. I said, "What am I doing? It's not end of the word if I learn if I say, oh." For example, if I say lashes, it's, for example, loches. Okay, so what? It's not end of the word. It's not a big deal. So I stopped doubting myself constantly, and I started saying whatever comes to my mind first, and saying it out loud, and the teacher all of a sudden said, "Oh, what happened? Your French got better, or seems better." I said, "No, it didn't get better. I just stopped doubting. I said, whatever comes, comes." let's stop. Oh, I should get everything right. Oh, lashes, loches. Okay, it's not end of the word. Everybody gets something wrong. So it's exactly like what Benny said. During one class, it was funny. First like half of the class I was like that Brazilian guy who was learning Czech, and then second part like Benny. It was just the stopping myself. Oh, what am I doing?
Yeah, the mindset. Yeah, the switch in the mindset can really have a dramatic effect there. So yeah, that's cool. Well, you'll have to show me more of your French progress, like videos or writing, so I can kind of take a look at it. And feel free. I mean, I know you sometimes don't like sharing videos, but feel free to put a video or an audio file in the group to try to get some feedback from French speakers. If French is your main target right now, yeah, feel free to kind of to post stuff about your progress.
Yeah, I don't usually share very often on the group, but some people also told me that why don't you even share on your own timeline on Facebook? I said, oh, I don't want to, but some people say, oh, why don't you put it? Because nobody sees it. If you are putting on YouTube and nobody sees it, what's the point? If you want to just have it for yourself, put it on.
That's the same thing that some of my students have said about me. That's the same thing some of the students have said about me teaching English in the language exchange group, because they're like, why don't you advertise more that you teach English? And I'm like, I'm just kind of admitting stuff and managing stuff here. And they're like, I've seen 2 or 3 of your posts that say you teach. Why don't you advertise? I'm like, okay, I'll start doing that more. So yeah, nobody will know if you don't tell them. So, but cool. Yes. Unfortunately, I do need to get going now. I can hear the kids up and stuff. But thanks for joining, and we'll stay in touch during the week and catch. Next week as well.
One thing I want to ask before you go: did you move? I don't remember if you said when you are gonna move, or you already moved to you wanted to move to Canada, right?
Yeah, we're planning on like in the summer. We're planning on it.
Summer. Okay, not now. I thought you, because in the previous time you had everything packed, like there were toys on the shelf. I thought.
No, I was in a different room in this house. My office is mobile. I have to move the computer from one place to another while everybody's asleep. So here I'm in the living room. But yeah, and yeah, probably covered in blankets and stuff. But cool. Yeah, that's a long-term plan for the next one. But yeah, I'm gonna have to get going. But take care. It was a pleasure talking with you, everybody.
See you. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye.